So how does the VA restrict pyramiding? The difficult part about this is that the veteran will need to prove that they suffer from a multitude of symptoms without overlapping symptomatology and diagnostic codes. So when you're in the same body part, I guess it's the lumbar, right? You're going to have overlapping symptoms. Arthritis causes symptoms that are exactly the same, if not barely different, than degenerative disc disease. So you're going to need, it's too hard to weave this stuff in and out. Get one rating for that body part, move up to another part of the back, or file secondaries. That's what makes this tough. A good example to explain this would be in the case of Esteban versus Brown, when the court had to decide if the veteran suffered from only one disability, which would give him a single rating, or multiple disabilities, which would give him separate ratings for the separate disabilities. In this case, the veteran suffered from three conditions: disfiguring scars, painful scars, and facial and muscle damage. The court ultimately decided to not separate these conditions and rated them as one condition as a whole. Each of these conditions resulted from the same disability. However, the symptoms are completely different. So in this case, we have scars, facial, muscle damage. This veteran filed a claim, got denied, went to the BVA, the Board of Veterans Appeals, got denied, and then went to the court and argued it there. And we're talking 5-6 years into this. And then the court's like, yeah, no, you're only going to get one disability rating. So look up Esteban versus Brown on the court's website if you want to, dig into the weeds about it. But this is a good example of how they don't allow pyramiding even at the highest levels of the court. In order for pyramiding to apply, the veteran's symptoms must be exactly the same. It can be complicated when there are many symptoms involved and when there are also shared between conditions. Since the same symptoms cannot be rated twice, the shared symptoms must be separated. If two different conditions share one specific symptom, only one of the conditions will be considered for rating purposes, which is what most of us run into. So you can have your doctor go in and line out all the symptoms for one condition and all the symptoms for the other condition. But there's way easier ways to do this because you still have to go to a C&P exam, and the C&P examiner has to see it exactly the way your doctor sees it. Nexus, diagnosis, this is the symptoms part of it. And this is really getting into the weeds on this part of it. So I recommend going into different body parts. The back is the backbone of your body, right? It causes all sorts of other problems having either one of these conditions. So good job on the 40% rating. It's not worth fighting for the 10%, in my opinion. I'd go after a mental health rating. I'd go after, a 70, a 50, might have migraines, might have GERD or IBS. Those are both 30s. You might have plantar fasciitis, other orthopedic conditions. That's another 50% rating. So there's a lot of other ways to go that are easier where you just completely avoid pyramiding. It's difficult to see how the VA rater is going to see it, how the C&P examiner is going to see it when you're dealing with one body part and multiple disabilities. If you just separate them completely away and, got my back here, got my feet here, got my mental health over here, you just keep moving it around. It's easier to win that way. You're going to need medical evidence to win your claim. If your private doctor or VA doctor won't provide it for you, check out my med team. There's an email address in the description. They can help you out with your missing medical evidence. So another place pyramiding shows up is in mental health claims. When it comes to mental health disorders like depression, PTSD, anxiety, they're not going to be rated separately. The VAs consider all the symptoms together and give you one rating. And if you think about it, that's actually logical. If you have PTSD, depression is going to be a symptom of that. Anxiety may or may not be a symptom of that. But you can't tell where the anxiety part starts, the panic attack starts, the hypervigilance. You can't attribute, well, that's just the PTSD. This one over here is the depression. And then this thing over here is the anxiety. And then this one over here is the schizophrenia. Mental health, you get one rating. It's the one that I talk about the most, the easiest to explain and understand, because, good luck trying to I haven't been able to figure it out when I'm in depression mode and PTSD mode, which is a lot, and all my little ticks and tacks that I do. I don't know if it's my generalized anxiety disorder kicking it off, my somatic symptom disorder kicking it off, my major depressive disorder kicking it off, or combat PTSD kicking it off. So I understand the concept because it's probably all of them kicking it off. So I wanted to explain pyramiding a little bit, show you an example. Mental health is a good example as well as orthopedic conditions. Moral of the story here is don't do it. There's easier claims to file, and file secondaries because your back or your mental health cause other problems in your body, the meds you take. Who knows what it is? We all have different disabilities. We all have to prove them differently based on the evidence that we have. And then it comes down to, will your doctor write it? Will they, a doctor has to be on board. They're licensed, right? They have an NPI number. So they have to write an opinion that's logical. They're not going to just write whatever you want written. So with that said, if you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my bootcamp at combatcraig.com. If you need medical evidence, email my med team. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.